Okay, we are reconvening our meeting, and right off the bat, we're gonna reconvene our 9:15 public hearing. And that public hearing was to receive public comments regarding a proposed installment financing agreement or similar financing arrangement to finance improvements to Rosewood Middle School and Rosewood Elementary School for the County of Wayne, North Carolina. And we are checking to see if there's anyone here to speak at our public hearing. And there's no one here to speak.
So you can go ahead and close that, and then we can take action on the necessary resolution.
All right, I close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion to take some action on this.
And the motion would be to adopt a resolution making certain findings and determinations regarding an installment financing agreement.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passed unanimously. We had a second public hearing that I'm...
Ms. Aycock, did you raise your hand?
Yes,
Oh,
I
okay,
did.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm sorry.
Might have been kind of slack, but I did.
We have a second public hearing that I'm reconvening. And that public hearing is to receive comments on a request to rezone 2.817 acres in Grantham Township from community shopping to R10 for property located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Paul Hare Road and US 13, Highway 13 South, identified as tax parcel 2546734961. Is there anyone here to speak at our public hearing? Seeing no one, adjourn the public hearing, and we'll entertain a motion if we so desire to take action.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rezoning request. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that was a unanimous vote as well. Our next course of action today would be to
Public comments, do you want to do that?
public comments.
Even though nobody's...
Okay, I'm reconvening our public comment period. And is there anyone here to speak during our public comment time?
Yes, sir.
Hearing of no one, adjourn the public comments. Now, at this point, I think we are to receive some information from our Davenport and Company, and I hereby recognize them for a presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ted Cole with Davenport. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. There's a presentation that you have in front of you, and it's about to be put on the screen as well.
Okay, I rushed it, I apologize.
No, that's all right.
Well, while you're getting that together, Mr. Cole, how was your trip?
It was easy. I actually was in Raleigh yesterday and last night. They had virtually no weather that I could see.
Wow.
Very little.
Wow.
And the roads coming here were good, so
Oh, good, good.
no problems.
I'm glad you had safe travels.
It sounds like you all had quite a bit of snow.
We
had
did.
fun. Pockets. Okay, so what's on the screen is exactly what's in front of you. We have done a request for proposal for financing for the Rosewood Middle and Rosewood Elementary. I'm sorry, go to page 2 if you don't mind. Thank you. Nope, back up. There we go. We did an RFP. We sent it out to a large list of banks, national, regional, local, where they have a presence. We brought back proposals. We had asked for an amount up to $9 million. And the structure of this financing is what's called an installment financing agreement. You all have done a number of those over the years in essentially borrowing money, in this case from a bank, and you're securing that loan with a deed of trust on the school project, Rosewood Middle, and your annual payment to go in the budget is subject to your annual appropriation. So it's a mortgage-backed type of financing, very typical. As you've held a public hearing, there's a resolution. We'll be back. I'll talk about the schedule in a moment. We received proposals from 5 different banks. They're listed there. Some of them you will recognize as being in the area, others maybe not present in the area, or maybe not even have an office in North Carolina, but they are very active in lending to local governments. We have worked with all of these and would have no issues with any of them in terms of closing loans. So that was the request we made. Page 3 gives you a summary. Go to the next slide. Thank you. So sort of from left to right, we have the lender first. We then have what's the rate lock section. So it's talking about, is the rate locked now? Is it floating? When do we have to lock it? When do we have to close? We'll talk a little bit about that. The call provisions, that has to do with your ability to prepay the loan or refund the loan in the future if there's ever a need or a desire or an opportunity to do that. And every bank kind of looks at that a little bit differently. And then we have the rate. And again, we asked for 20 years, we asked for fixed rate, that would be expected by the local government commission. And the rates you can see range from anywhere from a 430 to upwards of around a 460. So actually a fairly tight range for these that we see. We talked to a number of other banks. Nobody chose to not bid based on any financial concerns about the county. Some of them said, hey, it's maybe a little bit too large for us, or it's not in our market or our footprint, but nobody had any concerns with the county's finances. And you'll see Truist Bank offered the lowest rate at a 430, very closely followed up by Webster Bank at a 432. Webster is one of those that's very active in lending to local governments, but you're not going to see a branch of theirs anywhere in town or really in the county. Their banker is in Charlotte, but they are not a commercial bank that operates in North Carolina. But we do a lot of lending with them. And then the others there that kind of fell in behind. So in terms of interest rate lock for Truist, it is locked for a closing through March 21, which works with our calendar that I'll cover here in a moment. We still need to go to the local government commission. We have submitted that application. We would need to have one more county board action, but we would be able to close by March 21st. They would like to be notified of acceptance by February 4th. We would be able to do that if you all give us that direction today. The prepayable language, there's a lot of language there and dates, but essentially what they've done, Truist, is they said you can prepay beginning basically a year from now, but there would be a 5% prepayment penalty, and then it would step down to 4%, 3%, 2%, and eventually you would get to what's called a par prepayment, no penalty, beginning in 31, so call it roughly 5 years. So you have the ability to prepay early if you need to, but there's a penalty, but you will get to a place with them beginning in April of 31 where you could prepay without penalty.
Was that the prepay of the payment submitted, or is that prepay of the entire loan?
Just if, the entire loan, if you wanted to refund it, or just you had cash and you said, we don't want this loan outstanding anymore, how do we pay it off?
So you said the whole loan, not
Yes,
just
sir.
the okay.
That's right. But no, there would be scheduled payments, no penalty there, obviously. That's just an amortizing payment schedule. Webster Bank, interest rates are locked through March 20, so again, fits our closing date. They would like to be notified this week. Their language, a little bit different. They don't allow prepayment until April 1 of 31, so you're not able to prepay for the first 5 or so years. Beginning in 31, there would be a 2% penalty. It would step down to 1%. And beginning in 2033, you could prepay without penalty. So Truist has slightly better prepayment language. One, you can prepay as early as next year, and you get to a place where you can prepay without penalty a little bit earlier. And they have they have a 2 basis point better rate. I'm not going to go through the others unless you have questions about them, because I think we're really in the mix here of talking about Truist and Webster. Questions on that?
Good.
Okay. Little more detail on the next slide. We can go, and that's, I'm gonna have to look at the paper for that one. Oh, no, I'm good. I've got it here too. So a couple of things to note as you go down the Truist line. We've already mentioned the rate, we've mentioned the prepayment and the interest rate locking period. They would have a $7,000 fee for their attorneys that would be representing them in the transaction. The county and their attorneys would be drafting the documents, which is typical, and the bank and their attorney would be in more of a review mode, but they would have an attorney that would be representing them. You'll see under line 5, when the loan closes, all of the money comes to the county, and you have the funds available to make payments as needed. And you're earning interest on those monies. For Truist, they want that money held with them in an account that is perfectly acceptable for state statute, no issues with that account or what it's invested in. The current interest earnings rate on that account is at 2.40%. That is lower than what you can get at like the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, but it is a requirement that Truist has. We talked to them about being able to do something different, and they felt strongly that they wanted those funds held there. You will be earning interest at a 2.40, but when we talk about Webster there on line 5, they will allow the funds to be held, for example, at the Capital Management Trust, and you're going to get a little better rate there. We're not quite at 4% there. I think we're a little under 4%. Remember, that's just during the period of spending the money on the project, and I think there's an expectation that that money will get spent pretty quickly. So it shouldn't be held in any investment account very long, but Truist wants it held with them, whereas Webster said you can put it with the Capital Management Trust. Both of them have a fairly straightforward and simple requisition process. Webster will, I'm on line 4, line 4, they will also have a counsel representing them for a $5,000 fee. They're both subject to final credit approval. That's really a formality. They don't really submit proposals if they've got any concerns, and it's been pretty well vetted. So it's pretty standard. It's subject to final credit approval and the documentation. There's nothing odd there between those two proposals. And then at the very bottom on line 8, just other considerations. They're going to, Truist will take a security interest in Rosewood Middle, I think is what we proposed. There will be some requirements there, flood certification, title search. They will not require a title opinion or a title insurance policy. This is Truist. So that is a little bit less real estate required items with Truist, and not having a title insurance policy will save some money. I think we estimated in the range of about $15,000.
About $15,000 that would be added on. With
Webster will require title insurance. They typically do. So you'll see there, they will require title insurance. That will come at a cost to the county, and we've estimated that's about $15,000. So they're really close on rate. Truist has a slightly better loan rate. Truist is going to have the money held with them during the construction period at a lower rate, but Truist also doesn't require title insurance, which saves about $15,000. We're going to sort of flush all this out for you in numbers here in a moment. Those are the big comparisons between the two.
Quick question.
Yes.
It says a security interest in the school facility. Since there are 2 facilities here, we're only giving interest in one.
It's only necessary that we use the middle school as collateral. The elementary school will not be used as collateral. That's more than enough to secure
Okay,
what
sure.
we're borrowing.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay. So let's go to 5. This is where all the numbers come together. If you go to the next slide for me. The planning model. One more slide. And you might want to. There you go. Perfect. So the column B, that's the planning model. That's just to show you where we were when we were running this 3-year capital plan. We were using a 5% rate, a $9 million borrowing. the first year was about $900,000. Truist is under column C, and you're going to see we've got the project amount of about 8.8 million. We've got a cost of issuance placeholder of 135,000, the bank fee of 7,000, and you'll see the annual and total payback there. It's about 13,054,000. It's a 20-year loan. That's run at the 4.30 rate. Webster, the only difference is we've got an extra 15,000 of cost there to represent the additional title insurance costs. So they're at 150, slightly lower bank rate, bank attorney rate at 5,000, and you'll see the payments are starting at about 850, in total 13,093,000. So it's about $40,000 of additional interest over the life of the loan by going with Webster versus Truist.
But the interest that we would accrue on the bond, you don't think that's gonna outweigh?
Yeah, we looked at that, right. So this 13,054 versus 13,093 at the bottom is comparing the debt service, right? As we talked about, and I think that's where your question was going, we're gonna get a little better earnings during construction if we go with Webster, because we can put it with the capital management trust. And in talking with staff and thinking of not looking at the expected spend down of the bond monies, that wasn't enough to eclipse the savings in the debt. And so you're going to note that as you get into the next slide, we've made a recommendation to move forward with Truist. The lowest rate, little bit of savings on the closing costs because of the title insurance not being necessary. And they're very close, but that was the recommendation. That is the recommendation. And the calendar, this is very high level. Today, or February 3rd, what's it, 4th, so this is a day delayed, but you've held the public hearing. Getting direction on the winning bidder from you all today would be very helpful. That will allow us to get the documents started. We've already submitted the application to the LGC. We've been working with staff on that, so that's in. If everything goes according to schedule, we would be back for your second and final approval on March 3rd. That's also the day the LGC would consider approving the financing. We don't expect any issues from the LGC approval. We've had a call with them. They know it's coming. This is a pretty straightforward project. And then we would be in a position certainly to close by the March 20th deadline that the banks have given us. Any questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have one que- just trying to understand the big picture in my mind, right, of debt service. So regardless of who we go with, the additional debt service that's needed, like for fiscal year 27, 900,000 or 849,
Right.
that would come out of the 42 cent sales tax that we have, and this is manageable based on what we are.
In fact, when we met last week at the budget retreat, this payment was included in those payment.
I remember that.
It also
Thank you.
includes the Brogdon purchase as well. That's been factored in.
That particular property.
Yeah, it's been included in the planning work for some time. And so they're prepared for that in the 27 budget without requiring finding additional revenue. And I think we're scheduled to come back in early May and present that again. This presumably will be, turned into existing debt by then if we close. And then you'll see we've got new projects in the future that we'll be modeling. So I think from a affordability perspective, it's fully accounted for in the modeling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
Is that standard with banking, with most banks, to try to hold the funds in their particular?
It's a little bit of a mixed bag. Some care about that, but on the flip side, like Truist doesn't care quite as much about the the title, right, and the collateral, whereas, you know, Webster put the money wherever you want, but they are very focused on the real estate related items. So it's not uncommon, but it's not universally applied by each bank.
And Commissioner Williams, if you recall, you know, for some of our other projects like the jail, Fremont, Human Services, we went to borrowing pretty early in the process. So that was more advantageous for us to be able to invest that because it was probably gonna sit in the bank longer while we spent it down. With our SCIF grants that we have with the middle school, and the timing of that construction, and then we anticipate bids for the elementary school coming back later this month, we're only gonna hold this money for a couple of months, if that. So really, there is not much net benefit to that,
Gotcha.
to being able to invest it. I think it would be different if we were earlier on in the projects, but given the timelines, yeah.
And with Truist, while they want the money there, there's absolutely no requirement to keep it there for any period of time. You can pull it all out, you know, after closing if you were able to.
Thank you.
I would also point out that we stalled this borrowing as long as we could to hopefully interest rates would come down, and they actually did come down.
Yeah, these are, for 20-year rates, these are some of the best we've seen in the last 6 months.
Our timing, I think, was pretty good. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I will entertain a motion. And Andrew, if you'll help us frame that motion?
The motion would be to select Truist Bank as the lender for the Rosewood Elementary and Middle School projects.
Okay,
So moved.
all right, we've got a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand, and that's unanimous.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
All right, at this point, I think we have concluded everything. Is there anything else to come before the board? Hearing none, we adjourn.